On the morning of December 26, 1776, the Battle of Trenton occurs. It's one of the most important events of the American Revolution. In December 1776, Washington's men are in very poor condition, lacking food, winter clothing, supplies, and ammunition. They are also reeling from a devastating defeat in New York City, which forced the Continentals to flee across New Jersey. Additionally, about half of the soldiers' enlistments are up at the end of the year. Morale is low. Washington manages to get to the Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River by early December, wisely commandeering every quality boat on the river, which prevents the British from being able to follow him into Pennsylvania and attack. Some of those boats are the now famous Durham boats, seized from the iron works at Durham Township in Pennsylvania. These large, flat-bottomed vessels are about 50 feet long and are the ones primarily used in the famous Christmas night crossing. Washington's initial Pennsylvania camp is set up near Summerseat, the home of Thomas Barclay, in Morrisville, which the general uses as his headquarters. Based in occupied New York City, British General William Howe sends about 1,400 Hessians, commanded by Colonel Johann Rall, to keep an eye on Washington. These highly trained German mercenaries are garrisoned on the other side of the river in Trenton, New Jersey. Washington's bold plan is to cross the river Christmas night with 2,400 men and attack that garrison at Trenton. He crosses at McConkey's Ferry about 10 miles north of Trenton. Washington uses McConkey's Ferry as his headquarters. The building still stands today and is part of the Washington Crossing Historic Park. Washington's original plan calls for other groups to cross at 2 additional locations along the river, but a heavy snowstorm, which puts chunks of ice into the river, prevent this. The logistics of the Delaware Crossing are handled by Colonel John Glover, who commands a unit of fishermen soldiers from Marblehead, Massachusetts. Glover's skills on the water have come in handy already during the conflict, twice saving Washington's army in New York. There's a statue of Glover, in fact, in Boston, Massachusetts, on Commonwealth Avenue near Boston Common. A group of watermen from nearby Philadelphia assist Glover, providing important knowledge of the Delaware River. Along with the soldiers, Glover's fishermen transport horses, supply carts, and 18 cannons across the river as well. Some of those were 6-pounders, weighing about 1,700 pounds apiece. The artillery is commanded by a young Boston bookseller named Henry Knox, who later becomes the nation's first Secretary of War, and for whom Fort Knox in Kentucky is named. Once they reach Trenton, Knox wisely positions the bulk of the artillery on a commanding position above the town, with the town's center within range. The Delaware River is actually less than 300 yards wide at the point where the army crosses. Glover's fishermen row back and forth across the river multiple times throughout the night between the small docks on either side. The weather makes the crossing particularly challenging, and it's followed by a difficult 10-mile march on the icy, snow-covered road to Trenton. 2 of the men die of exhaustion and exposure during the march. The crossing takes about 3 hours longer than Washington anticipates, which means he reaches Trenton in full daylight rather than before dawn as he had hoped. But the Continentals still manage to surprise the Hessians, killing or wounding about 100 and capturing another 900. During the battle, none of Washington's men are killed, and only 5 are wounded. One of the wounded is a young officer and future U.S. president named James Monroe, who is hit in the shoulder with a musket ball. Trenton is a crucial victory. Washington's army acquires much-needed supplies and ammunition from the Hessians. Additionally, Trenton and 2 other victories at nearby Assunpink Creek and Princeton over the following week convince British General Howe to wait out the winter in New York City, allowing Washington to regroup. But Trenton's greatest import may be psychological, as Washington's troops get their first real victory after months of devastating defeats. The victory, along with the promise of a bonus, helps convince many of the men to re-enlist, something that seemed unlikely just days before. German artist Emanuel Lutz's 1851 painting, Washington Crossing the Delaware, has become iconic. Despite the fact that his portrayal of the event is far from accurate, the painting effectively captures the boldness and monumental significance of the Delaware Crossing. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1820, Moses Austin meets with Spanish authorities to request permission to settle in Texas. In 1944, Patton's Third Army relieves besieged Allied troops in Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge. In 1946, mobster Bugsy Siegel opens the glitzy Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, with Jimmy Durante headlining. In 1966, the first Kwanzaa, a celebration of African American history and culture, is celebrated. In 1985, primatologist Diane Fossey is murdered at her research site in the mountains of Rwanda. In 1996, 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey is found dead in the basement of her family's Colorado home. In 2004, a powerful earthquake triggers a deadly tsunami that devastates the Indian Ocean coastline. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. Which was the first manned mission to leave Earth's orbit? Apollo 7, Apollo 8, Apollo 10, or Apollo 11? Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Find out if you're right tomorrow on Today in History.